Hi, good everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm saying, oh, hi, good everyone. We are live tonight here with a very special guest, and there she is already. She's right on time, and that is, I call her the Lina Bradford because really she's just incredible. And she's a DJ, TV host, and an actress. So I'm going to bring her in right now here with the dinner conversations, and we are talking about Black Trans Lives Matter. Here's Lina. We're connecting from New York City tonight, and I'm super excited for this. So we're doing Milan, New York. Here she is coming in. Oh, wow.
Hi, gorgeous.
You look chic.
So do you.
Well, I dressed up for you because there's not many people I dress up for, but Lina Bradford's one.
Back to you.
Lina Bradford is...
I love this, whatchamacallit, Cosmo hair, honey.
Exactly, right? It's very New York, actually.
It's gorgeous.
In your honor, and you look fabulous.
Thank you, Mama.
Oh,
I feel rested. I got some rest.
Good. Well, I know that you've been doing like some crazy weekend DJ sets. So someone's saying here, so proud of you, Lina. Speak up, right? Well, Lina always speaks up, and I'm just being a really quick introduction to you, Lina, about, and it was really important for me.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear? I can hear you perfectly. It was really important for me to host this conversation on my platform, which is the Dinner Conversations, which is all about female empowerment. And I think there's been a lot of talk about what that means, and for me, when feminism supports trans rights, everybody wins. And we need to be talking and moving forward in an inclusive world. And that's not inclusivity just from a male side, that's also inclusivity from women's side, and I think that definitely the female community needs to be speaking up a lot more. And I think in this moment, it was really important to address like Black Trans Lives Matter, especially because as Black Lives Matter movement is so important now more than ever. But I mean, we were talking about this together, and we were mentioning why it was so important to talk about, why Black Trans Lives Matter, because it's not, it's specific, you can't just say, oh, well, it's all Black Lives Matter. And why is there a movement, Lina? Tell us more.
Well, I mean, it's something that's been, leading up to this, it's unfortunate, but yet fortunate that it happened during this whole pandemic, but it really gave people the opportunity just to kind of see all of the things that were going on in the world. Mother Nature, this situation that's been going on for 500 years. So this is something that just started 2 weeks ago when George Floyd was killed. I think it's just that everybody and everything that they were doing has kind of been put at a hold. There's no more white noise going on where everything's clear and in your face, So this really hit a core at a time when, it was right. And this is that moment, And what you were saying about the trans movement, which obviously we'll get into, is that it's about the cis community recognizing that's what it comes down to, really at the end of the day, because I don't want to get ahead of ourselves right now, but I just wanted to throw that in real quick.
No,
because you and I are trying to squeeze a lot in a short
No, we got to squeeze a lot in 30 minutes. And I think that, for me, that's always been, as a woman, really important that the female transgender community felt part of the female movement, not just part of.
Well, that's the thing, is that, how trans women identify has always been there. It's just everybody else trying to get it together and understand. You know what I'm saying? People have to understand that most trans women, not all, but most trans women identify as straight women.
Absolutely.
Some are lesbian. Some don't identify and don't need a label, like including myself. Those are the ones that I wear on my back, not the ones that I want to, and they're not bad. But you don't want to be pigeonholed into just one type of box. I think that we're, first of all, us women, we're very dynamic, and I'm speaking for myself, is that I don't want to feel pigeonholed because of how it is that I feel. At the end of the day, an energy and an essence and a light is what draws me toward it. Okay, so that doesn't have a gender for me. For me, as far as being attracted to, but as far as me and my identity, I've been a woman since the day that I was born. So how it is I present myself and how articulate I can be is how it is that I reach my audience, and how people get to understand where anyone's coming from is when they can be and be in that head and articulate it correctly. But it's educating everybody in the world, because even though they feel like this is, you know, relatively new. It's not. It's just that you guys are finally paying attention. You guys are finally looking. This has all been here. We can go here and show you the receipts.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that is always kind of made me not feel comfortable was that there's so much awareness in the LGBTQ community about transgender women and not in the female community, you know, which is the straight community. And I think that conversation needs to change. It needs to broaden. I now have like a woman's platform, and now I can bring up that conversation. I can be a woman that's going to say, you know, for me, you know, you're my sister, you're my friend. Because, you know, for me, labels sometimes make me feel uncomfortable just because, you know, I just feel that at the end of the day, we're trying to pigeonhole people. But, you know, if anyone's a woman through and through, I mean, you teach me how to be a woman, Lina.
I think that us as women who pay attention are open, we do that. And that's what sisterhood is about. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, you and I, we spent lots of wonderful time together. And when we're out, even when we don't know other women, if we see them, we're like, oh my God, you look amazing. Like, we're those kind of women. We're not the kind of women who are like, you know, giving you a side eye. Being in part of a womanhood has to be about getting outside of your box and not thinking that you are the one. We all are the one. When one comes up, we all come up. It's also not about feeling like you have to be against another sister, you know? We already have enough men and people out there trying to have done that for so long for us that we can't have that in our own backyard. We need to be stronger in numbers. And I love that what you said, having the cis community embrace transgendered women is huge and very, very important. Sorry, my Yorkies agree with me as well.
They're loving it.
Testify.
But it's true. But also bringing awareness in and educating women, because this is another problem. You know, a lot of women, you know, they see this as something separate from them. And, you know, instead of embracing them.
But Natasha, that's a good point that you make. When women feel that way, it's the same thing as far as race. If you feel like there's not a problem, it's because it's not happening in your own backyard.
Exactly.
It's the same situation. That's why I think that it's so important and important that these two things are happening all at the same time. You know what I mean? It's very synonymous, and it's so right on time. It's so right on time.
Now, you've always lived your truth. You've always been an incredible personality. I mean, making friends with Lina, and those who don't know her, is the most simple thing in the world. It's just literally like butter melting. It's that beautiful, and it's that nourishing, you know, and you are every kind of idea of what empowered means to me as a woman, you know, because you're always owning yourself and your own life and taking always responsibility, and you have very loved within your community. When I say community, I mean your friends community in New York, within being your work as a DJ, as a TV host, and, you know, your next jumps into being an actor. Now, you know, you're also, you know, a woman of color. And right now we've been talking and seeing a huge movement that's Black Lives Matter. But at the same time, we've been seeing, you know, stories in the news of Black transgender women being abused, violently killed, shot, stabbed. And, you know, I pulled up some stories in the news, and the names broke my heart. There's a list, you know, and I could just keep going down, you know, and it's like Yana Dior, Dustin Parker. I mean, it's just like on and on and on. And like, why is this so important to bring awareness now more than ever? Because,
you know, it's been important seriously since the beginning of the first time that any Black trans woman was killed. And the fact that, you know, you only hear about it through, you know, friends, it's not publicized. You don't hear it on the news. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying just now getting a little bit of light on it, and I mean little, because, you know, again, George's situation just happened 2 weeks ago, and then you start hearing, and then there was the video that you just mentioned about the beautiful Miss Dior, which happened just like not even a week or two ago, where there were 30 Black men beating on one trans woman. Not that there's any excuse. There's no excuse in the world for that to be happening, but that it's happening within the own community. It's just unfathomable to me. And then also trans women being incarcerated and put and misplaced in the wrong gendered facility.
In prison, exactly. This is
terrible.
Been
happening for way too long. It's just now because, you know, people aren't doing a million things, that they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should talk about that. No, yeah, we definitely need to talk about this because it's hugely important. And there's been so many other situations that haven't even been on video. You know, think about all the things prior to George that we have not got on video. Think about all the experiences and the situations to people of all ethnic diversities who have been ostracized, killed, shot at, whatever, without the platform of a camera phone. This is all, this part is new, but this has been happening way too long.
Absolutely. And for
So
me,
I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but
yeah,
when
you go.
say that Black Lives Matter, it's all Black lives matter.
Thank you.
You don't get to pick and choose, and you don't start to get to dissect the situation, because then you start being exactly like the community and the race that you think is coming for you. Guess what? They don't see a difference. They're going to kill that Black person, whether it be transgender, gay, straight, or whatever. So you don't think that we're stronger in numbers? It just makes it show to them that it's easier for them to pick and choose, or rather, it's easier for them to say that they can do it to us when we're doing it to ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think this is what you said, was you have like a young Black transgender woman being beaten by Black men. Yeah. So, you know, the point is, this has to stop. I mean, all type of violence has to stop on transgender women of all races, but especially when you're saying, when you've got a movement like, or, you know, Black Lives Matter, and then you have these problems within the race and community. It's not like, oh, well, you're not valid because you're transgender. And so this is the transgender community.
I can't even fathom that. Like, we're very intelligent women. I can't understand that for the life of me. I can't. Because guess what, darling? We show up for you when you need it. And it's not like I'm not nice because I need somebody to come back and validate me and be nice to me, but it's empathy.
Absolutely.
It's for your race. We've all, baby, you cut me, I bleed just like you do.
Absolutely.
We've gone just as you, if not more. So
Lina, what is it that disturbs people so damn much about transgender? Because this is what it really boils down to. Like, people, you know, one of the things that we've been taught in this COVID period and in this Black Lives Matter period, and, you know, I'm doing my best, because we have to, you know, even people like myself have to be able to confront and have difficult conversations. Yeah. You know, like, I may not be the most informed on this subject, but I'm going to put myself out there and have this conversation. And
that's what this is for. Yeah.
That's what this is for. And that's a step to bring awareness, because I can say in my community of people, you're not talking about this, let's talk about this.
Right.
But what is it that fundamentally disturbs people so much? Because, you know, what is it?
When it comes down to me for understanding that is that if you aren't comfortable with who and what is going on into your life, you're going to dissect everybody else's because you're not happy with your own. Even if you don't understand that's the type of psyche that I understand from why somebody would do that, because I know that I'm very comfortable, but I also know that at the same time, as I keep myself very worldly and out there and open with the world and the universe, that there are certain things that I can say, well, I personally have not obviously walked into that, but I can be empathetic to it. I can respect it. And I can also want to open myself to educating myself to find out more. But again, everybody's path and everybody's gig is different. So I think that at the end of the day, when you are, and I say this often, and you've heard me say it, when you're not right for your blood type, it is very hard for you to see somebody else's.
Absolutely.
So I think that, you know, it sometimes has to happen for certain people to have that moment, that interaction with somebody who kind of brings them correct in a calm and cool way. You don't fight with anger. There's nothing that will ever come from that. You talk at a cool, calm, collective volume. You get your point across. They might get it then. They might get it a month from now, a year from now. But they'll also be like, you know, that person could have completely gone in on me, and they didn't, because messages have to be delivered and they were received when you're right and you're ready for it. You can't push anything down to somebody's throat, honey. That's when they go the opposite way. And then they also act out even further in anger.
Yeah, absolutely. But we were talking about this the other day. We were talking about how, you know, my daughter, she's 13. And for her, she sees no race, no gender, like, you know, religion. I mean, for her.
You raised a good one, honey.
You know, she's just, thank you. But, you know, for her, it's like, it's your prerogative.
Yeah.
You know, and this young generation is thinking more like that. But this is what you said, something really important. And you said, but you're taught that in the home.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you learn in
We
the
don't
home.
come
Because
out
if
of
you're
the
being
womb.
taught hate in the home, then you're
Exactly.
hating outside.
Baby, when we come out of the womb, we don't know about color. We don't know about any of this stuff. All that stuff is taught. And it's interesting because I knew that we were having this conversation. A memory that I don't want to say suppressed because I really evoke everything, but I guess a memory that I completely forgot about. And it was so interesting as I was putting on, excuse me. Ooh, I'm sorry. I had a salad beforehand, sugar. I was putting on my lip gloss and literally I was in the vanity and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I have to tell Natasha, I can't tell you how long ago this happened, but the fact that I have not thought about this moment up until just a moment ago. I must have been maybe, I don't know, 8. And I remember my mother's boyfriend's son at the time came to visit from LA. We're in New York, and we were upstate at my grandparents, and we were, and so we would go up there during the summer. And I remember that there were some kids that I was playing with, and they had a pool, and they knew me, but then I introduced them to, you know, my mother's boyfriend's son. So it was just us kids playing around. They're like, oh, we're going to go in the pool. And I'd gone there, and I'd been there before, and I remember them saying, we get to outside the pool, and I remember the kids having a conversation with one of the parents. Now, remember, this is way back in the day. So the kids were, the parents were having a conversation with one of the kids, and one of the kids came back and said, well, you can come in, meaning me, but he can't come in. And I was like, we were kids, we didn't understand. I was like, we're like, why? And he's like, well, because he's really black. And I was just like, that I remember it not sounding right to me, but I was also, I had never experienced any prejudice, only once, but with black people. And that was sad because they thought that being a mixed race girl, having light skin and quote unquote, what they call good hair, I thought that I was better than them when I changed schools to a different grade. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I have cousins that look exactly like you, same hair texture and skin. I don't think like we ended up becoming friends in the long run, but that was weird to me that I was like, how is it that I'm experiencing this from my brothers and sisters? But I remember it was so weird how I guess I had repressed that feeling and I hadn't thought about it, but then it came to me this afternoon that I was like, that's messed up because guess what? These kids didn't even know the difference about race. Their mother,
no, they did. They were taught it by their family.
And say, he's too black to come in. Why would you want to teach your kids that? So yes,
you know,
it starts at home.
Yeah, it does. And when it comes to any type of gender, unfortunately, we're not just we're dealing with religion as well, you know, and oftentimes there's prejudice from religious groups or religious beliefs, which is another thing that's taught in the home, taught at school, taught going weekends to church, which is a real shame because I always think that, one of the reasons I specifically chose not to send my daughter to any religious classes here in Italy was like, all I need is that Catholic indoctrination, but not because I don't believe in Catholicism or I don't respect anyone who has that belief, but I just don't want my daughter to be told what's what in this world based on somebody's belief.
Right. No religion is ever going to put it out onto you. You come to your spirituality. You know what I mean? And no religion tells you you can't do this, this, or that. You know what I mean? That's not religion, people. That's just one, democracy and controlling.
Absolutely. Which is, you know, for me, that's it. Now, both you and I have lived our lives so much in the nightlife world. And through that world, I think we've been privileged in so many ways to live a life that was always so inclusive in so many ways, because in the nightlife world, which is a very particular world, you know, really the more anything goes, the better it is.
It's a toss-up.
Exactly. The more it's a melting pot. Now, you've had a really long career as a DJ, and in what way do you think that you have been able to kind of like bring more awareness for the transgender community through music?
Yeah, that's a good point, sweetheart, because, you know, I think that you're right. I mean, even people who don't work in it, aside from us, they know that when you come into that type of element, it feels like a family. You know, if it's your first time, you know, coming out, or it's just your first time period, you feel like, oh my God, I'm with my tribe, you know, and your tribe doesn't have a color, a gender. It's like a rainbow Skittles situation, you know what I mean? It's really delicious. So I love that because, you know, we've been working in this industry for so long, it's just like, that's all we know is just the beauty and the light and the love. So when you walk that path outside of your quote unquote work, and it never feels like work to us because, you know, it's what we breathe, it's what we walk in, it's how we hold our head up. So it's never work, you know, but how we take that into our day-to-day life has everything to do with who we are as a person and how we treat people and how we don't see them and how we don't separate them. I could not be any more blessed for having this light shed on me to be able to bring people together. You know, I'm known as the Princess of Light to my friends because I love people. And growing up being an only child and growing up with Barbie, of course, bringing people together has always been my thing. And I love that. And I like listening and hearing where other people come from. And that's how you get on in life, is listening to other people and finding out where they come from and not realizing that your backyard is all that there is, because there's so much more. It's important to travel. It's important to listen to other languages and cultures. You know, that's how we become more open and empathetic to the world.
Absolutely. How have you in your own life dealt with any kind of criticism that you might have had, or if you've had any bullying in your life, or, you know, how have you dealt with that? And I mean, one of the things I always have an image of you is like, I know that you'll just shoot them with one of your like $1 million smiles, and then no one can say anything.
Oh,
you know, there's anyone who looks at you a little bit off, like they turn around and you're looking smiling, emanating so much love back at them that there's like, no one's going to say anything. But, you know, there are people that, there are young women out there, there are young Black transgender women who are starting out in their lives and in their careers. That, what advice can you give to these women?
You just hit it right there. Like, I think that because I've had these two cherubs on my shoulders and just how my spirituality and how it is that I love people, I don't, and I never had that. Like, I've always been steered away from darkness. And then anytime that I've ever, you know, probably in the presence of someone who needs that type of light, I put there for a reason if they're not there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what my first gig is on this planet, you know? So I've never been in that place, and it's because of a reason. So I haven't. And I would say that anyone who has and is going through that, you have to remember that if people aren't sitting on the toilet and shitting and paying your bills, darling, why are you caring about their mascara? What matters is in your own backyard, those people, those special people, you know, and never coming out of your face. It's so easy to come out of your face, but it takes more to take your time and be cool and collected with it. You know what I mean? You don't got to raise your voice, and you don't got to curse at somebody. Baby, just take it in. And you know what? Kill them with kindness, because not everybody needs that at that moment in that time. And you actually keep them further in their place by doing that.
Absolutely. And I love that message of always like, where, you know, there's a lack of love, give more love, you know, and no one's ever gonna, you know, whatever attitude someone's coming at you, the more love you emanate, the more kind of kindness, the more peace you emanate, then you are not that victim. You know what I mean? Like, that's somebody else's
Nobody wants that little fiddle, honey. You know what I mean?
Now, Lina, listen, like, you've been doing incredibly over this quarantine and like offering people so much light through your DJ
like
sets.
Right now. Just listening to you and looking at you.
But
I
it's
love
true.
you
Like,
so
I
much,
turned on
Tasha.
accidentally one night here in Milan, and I was like, whoa, wow. And, you know, it was 2 o'clock in the morning for me, and I really needed to get to bed, but I was like up until 3, just on my phone, listening and feeling like that I was inside that nightclub, inside that moment. Now, I know that before we close up, I just want you to tell us a couple of things that you're working on, because I know that you've got some amazing projects, and, you know, you always have a great philosophy and outlook to life in your career as well. You know, we always talk about going the distance, but tell us a little bit about what's on the cards for you next.
Thank you, Tasha. And you also, too, Miss Grinder. We were talking about the other day, honey. We come from the school of grind, honey. We will make this happen.
We're up and down.
Yes, we'll always
have about reinventing yourself, yourself all the time.
It's true. And also, you know, we knew when we were getting into the arts and entertainment that we were never going to slow down, and we'll sleep when we're dead. You know, that being said, especially now being here in this pandemic, you know, it obviously was an adjustment for everyone in the very beginning, but you know, we all start to find our feet. Like, that's who we are as humans, you know? We just need a minute to, like, you know, catch the beat, like double dutch, get in. You know what I mean? So I feel really, I love that I've always been very open and also very focused at the same time, and very organic with my process and how it is that I allow things to come and speak to me. You know, for instance, when this whole quarantine thing started in my first gig, I got asked to do, you know, a live set. And you know me, I'm a, you know, an orientated person with the energy in front of me. And I was like, how is this going to work? You know, obviously then seeing it afterwards, you know, I got into my head while I was spinning, but then after seeing and reading everybody's comments and then receiving all the messages, it was just like, oh, wow, this is really something. We're really touching each other this way. And now it's just become a thing on Fridays for Lina's Lounge, and Saturday, Go Big or Go Home. So I
love that. I love that. Go big or go home.
Hello. And I've also loved, you know, also getting in touch with my music in a different way. Like I make each set, like for instance, like the vibe on Fridays, like Lina's Lounge, sexy, sophisticated, more sexier, soulful house. And Saturdays, Go Bigger, Go Home, you know, the beats are a little bit bigger, honey, you know, but it's still soulful, but it still gives you a bigger beat. So, you know, it's been, and also I make a conscious decision never to repeat a song. There's obviously a story. Like I come from the school of DJs of like, you know, the first song to the last song. I'm telling you a story. So the only thing that it is that I'm thinking about is like what type of story that it is that I want to tell you. So with that being said, I make certain that with that story, you can't repeat a song. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
That's really kind of given me a new love for my art. You know what I mean? I'm spending 26 years, you know what I mean? And then, you know, I got back into acting after not doing it for so long. And so I have some really great projects coming up, and more when I can share them with you. But I'm, you know, the Dollhouse is going to be coming back, and I'm really excited about that as well.
That I'm super excited about.
Yeah, me too.
Which you can tell people here what the Dollhouse is, who they don't know.
So in the Dollhouse is a show that I started about 6 years ago when I left the island after 10 years. And I wanted to put together a show with who were interesting and fun to me, that I loved and I respected, didn't matter what they did. And, you know, that's me. You know, I like a whole tossed salad of situations. And that's basically what the show is, you know, with a mixture of, you know, my intelligence, my goofiness, and all of this stuff. So, and obviously my Barbies, you know, since I have a huge collection. So it's really fun. And I mean, you know, guests from my brother Brian Atwood to Whoopi Goldberg to Bevy Smith, you know, to, you know, so many, you know, and so it's so interesting to see also how each guest gets into coming out of the show, because, you know, the magical 8-ball. I shake the magical 8-ball and I ask them, who's going to be my guest today? And then, of course, with the magic of editing, they show up in a puff of smoke, and it's so interesting to see, like, what they do to be on the show. And then I created games, and we have conversations. It's so fun. So I'm now going to be doing it in front of a studio audience, which is going to be so much fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, because, you know me, I'm a people person, and to be able to like feed off of that energy too, because even when we were filming in, you know, at the time in my townhouse in my Barbie room, you know, there was like maybe 6 people. It was like, you know, camera people, you know, lighting people, blah, blah, blah. And then my Barbies, but I still felt like there was a whole bunch of people there because that's just in my head.
No, I love it. I can't wait.
So.
And I can't wait. And, you know, it really deserves to be a great TV format, so I can't wait.
Thank you.
Listen, one last thing, as we are talking about Black transgender lives, how can people out there help? Like, what awareness? What can people do?
That's a good question. I think that any people who saw this invitation, who are here and are listening, I think that also too, it's important for people who have platforms to use them and shed light and to show. This part of me that feels weird, like, you know, why haven't you been doing this all the time? But, you know, let's just erase all that.
I know, I've been thinking about that.
Yeah,
but we have been doing it all the time, Lina,
right.
Because in our way, in our community, we've always been like...
We've always walked this walk. Yeah.
We've always been supporting each other. Yeah. We've always, and you know, for me, even a white privileged girl getting into nightlife, I mean, I had to cut my teeth at it too. It wasn't a natural habitat, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
So my background didn't come from that either. And the thing of what I've always loved about nightlife, and I think nightlife is a place that embraces everyone, you know? It really embraces, it's a place that, you know, can be a home for so many people. But I want to know today, like, what can people do? Because how can people have this conversation? How can people do more?
One thing I want to say before answering that is that it's hugely important for the white, gay, and lesbian and transgender community to be behind their Black trans sisters and their Black trans brothers and Black gays. You know,
yes.
I don't like seeing any type of separation, you know, because I don't come from that, being a biracial child, you know, of Black and white parents, you know what I mean? So I don't know that thinking. So when I see it out there, it doesn't resonate with me correctly, and it doesn't allow me to swallow properly. You know what I mean? And I like to breathe, and I like to swallow with no trouble. Okay? And that gives me trouble. Okay? So I think that, you know, one, the more that you see your brothers and sisters understanding and being there for you, they start shedding some light. And guess what? Then it becomes like a whole effect. So that's how you get it out there. You get everybody on the same page and showing and being like, well, look at this. And did you read about this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're on a platform of social media and all of these things that we didn't come from. Look at how quickly a word can get out. So guess what? Let's just work on our content.
Yes, absolutely.
That's how you get it out there.
We have to say a special hi to Brian and also Dennis, who's been out there. And there's been so many others writing incredible messages. And I thank you all for your support. For me, as I said, on Dinner Conversations, which is a female empowerment platform, it's really important to have these conversations. And I don't care whether they're difficult conversations, whether I'm not so informed, whether I'm the right person to start them or not.
They're difficult if we don't have them.
Exactly. I'm going to start them, and I'm going to put it out there to all of you guys to be thinking about this. And we're going to be posting this up on the Dinner Conversations now. I'm going to be posting it onto my handle as well. So, you know, maybe this is a conversation.
It's going to be on my IGTV.
Yeah, maybe people are going to be having this conversation tonight with their friends and say, you know, Natasha and Lina were talking about this. Okay, let's talk about this. That's right. Especially over here in Italy, which definitely is a lot more backwards. And there needs to be a lot more education. But I mean, look at what's happening in the United States, which should be by now in all effects an extremely evolved culture, and this has to end now. You know?
It is beautiful to see how everyone all over the world is standing up and doing it. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely. So we're going to be, and of course, Claudio, of course.
Hey,
the lovely Claudio, of course. Yeah, it says, yes, it's our responsibility to educate ourselves, to talk about it. Thank you. Yeah, and you're right. You know, I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of listening in this period, and it is my responsibility. It's my responsibility. I can use my platforms to talk about this and, you know, get my friends together and say, let's have this conversation. It's a difficult conversation. It wasn't so difficult, was it?
No.
We didn't have any problems.
When you're open and you want to listen, listening is the most important thing. Just listen. Find out where somebody else is coming from. Guess what? You got your whole life to flap this pie hole. Shut up and listen.
Absolutely. Lina, thank you so much for being here. The world
for you. I love you, Tasha.
I love you so much, and we're going to get on the phone. We'll have our own little chat.
Thank you, everybody, for
bye.
tuning in.
And obviously,
and
follow. You've got your DJ sets this weekend as well.
Yes, I do. Friday 7 to 8 and Saturday 8 to 9.
Okay, so we'll be putting that. We'll be posting that out for you as well. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye, Brian. Bye. Bye.